Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 16, Afterlife. And once again, another amazing episode. Seriously, now that they've introduced this new storyline of the new S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything, it's just making things a lot more interesting. And I feel like from here on out, just every episode is just going to get better and better. And this episode, as I said, it was amazing. Let's just get into it because a lot happened and there's a lot to talk about. So, we start with Coulson. He's on the car lot carrying a metal briefcase in his hand, and the salesman starts his routine saying he has a superpower that lets him tell any man what kind of car he should be driving, and Coulson's not impressed, and they begin to discuss Coulson buying an SUV when Lance drives up in a Jeep off the lot. Now, I was interested in seeing where they were going to go with Coulson and Lance. I didn't really know who they were going to work for, and he basically is telling Coulson to get in, and Coulson and Lance argue over stealing the Jeep, and when the salesman threatens to call the police, Coulson ICEs him, and Coulson and Lance drive off in the Jeep. So, I thought that was a good way to start the episode. I really enjoyed that, and then we see, but the best stuff in this episode definitely includes Daisy. I mean, as I said before, I think one of the best things they're doing this season is just making Daisy more aware of her powers, and in this episode, she becomes even more aware. So, Daisy wakes up on this table, and Gordon and Lincoln are performing some kind of acupuncture-like process on Daisy, and Gordon leaves Daisy with Lincoln, and she's not entirely sure if she should trust Lincoln. You know, she's not really sure. She doesn't know too much about him, and she's really not sure, you know, how he's going to be overall, and basically, this is Daisy's transitioner. He explains that everyone who goes through Genesis has a transitioner, and describes the evolutionary process of Genesis and how he's trying to help it along. And Daisy's very worried about her friends, but, you know, she's very worried that her friends are not, you know, that they're not gonna like her and everything, but I like that Lincoln tells her that she's the hunted, which is true. They're hunting her. The Inhumans right now, they're the enemies, and they haven't done anything wrong, but her friends right now think she's the enemy. I mean, they know who she is, and, I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson kicked her out, so obviously they've made it clear that she's the enemy. Even though I think Jemma does want to help her, she really seems to be the only one that is expressing any concern over this, and I like that Lincoln said that, because really they are the enemy. So, back at S.H.I.E.L.D., Bobby and Robert are discussing the failed attempt capture to, you know, to basically capture Daisy, and Bobby defends Daisy, saying that Cal Duran pulled a gun on her and that she's still a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but Robert says she was armed and hostile and is unsympathetic, and I can understand what Bobby's saying. I mean, yes, she is still a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but, I mean, she's not part of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. She's now an Inhuman, and I don't think it's so much that she is, you know, hostile as much as she's just unaware of her powers. And he just doesn't really see any sympathy towards these Inhumans, which I found to be very interesting. I thought that this S.H.I.E.L.D. cared about the Inhumans, but we see in this episode that no, they want to hunt the Inhumans and kill them, and basically, we see that Bobby says Coulson is as in the dark as anyone else because, you know, Coulson has no idea what's going on. He doesn't know anything about her being Inhuman, and, you know, basically, Robert questions that assumption, saying that they need to get into the toolbox, and we then see Fitzsimmons. They are examining that very problem, but no progress seems to be made, and Robert tells them that he wanted to recruit them out of the academy. And I was interested in seeing where we were going to go with Jemma and Fitz, because I just didn't really know, you know, where exactly their loyalties were, but we see here that Robert wants to recruit them and wants them to join his team, and basically Coulson stepped them out from under him, and basically, you know, Robert tries to smooth things over and get them on his side, but Jemma and Fitz basically say that they're still cold and apprehensive, and they just don't really know if they should do this or not. So, Bobby says they're not prisoners and are free to go as soon as they are debriefed, and Fitz immediately leaves to pack his things, because we know that Fitz has been planning to leave, and he finally gets the A-OK in this episode that he can leave. So, basically, I like that Bobby said that, because they're not prisoners. They can leave whenever they want to, but you can see the look on Gemma's face. She's pretty upset that he just, took off, but he's been wanting to do this for a while, that, she's not too surprised that he's doing this. So, Coulson and Lance arrive at the cabin safe house and find the damage left behind by S.H.I.E.L.D.'s encounter with Daisy, and they find video footage of Daisy's powers at work and Gordon taking Daisy away. So, little by little, they're starting to find out more about Daisy, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I wasn't really sure how Coulson was going to react to that, and basically, Lincoln walks in on Daisy, who has finished getting dressed. She says she feels normal, she wants to get a message to her friends, But Lincoln says that Gordon is the only one who can contact the outside world, and Daisy asks where they are, and he says the name is Chinese Lishi, but they just call it Afterlife, which is why this episode was called Afterlife, because they're in the afterlife. And basically, he says he doesn't know if they're actually in China, only Gordon knows, because, Gordon's the one that set him up on this mission and told him to do all this, and basically, Daisy says it sounds like a prison, and Lincoln says nobody lives here permanently, it's more like a way station, and basically it's basically some place people go to transition, or when they need a safe place to hide out, which, honestly, Daisy does need that. She's unaware of her powers. She almost killed a guy, possibly did kill a guy. I've heard people say that they think she did kill that guy. I don't know if she did, but there are a lot of people that think she did, and basically, Daisy asks why, so many people are staring at her, and Lincoln explains that everyone here is a descendant, but they're here to be evaluated, and only a few people get chosen for Terrigenesis a year. Daisy jumped the line as the first to go through Terrigenesis with a diviner at a Kree temple in thousands of years. So, basically, this hasn't happened in a very long time, and Daisy is now continuing this tradition. So the others are very jealous of her, and I really like finding that out, that the others are actually jealous of Daisy, because Daisy is actually very powerful. I mean, she can make she can make anything shake. She has a lot of energy in her and things like that, and Daisy doesn't fully understand. I mean, she still is very unaware of what's going on. She's as lost as we are, really, she is. So Daisy asks about Raina and Cal, but Lincoln says there's no one here who will harm her, that she has no one to worry about, and I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean, when he says that they're jealous, I'm like, well, if they're jealous, why would they want to protect her? Because wouldn't they want her demise to happen so that way they can, be part of the Terrigenesis? I mean, it just makes sense, but whatever. So, Robert's trying to question Melinda, but she's giving him a silent treatment, and, of course, Melinda doesn't really trust Robert, of course, and Robert asks if Melinda's loyal to Coulson or S.H.I.E.L.D., and Melinda says that they're same, and I like that she said that, because they technically are the same, but in many ways they're not. Robert tells her about the encounter with, Daisy, and Melinda defends Coulson's decisions. She thinks that he's making good decisions here about what he did. And basically, Bobby watches the interrogation on a tablet, and Mac finds her, and that's why she's hanging out alone. She says there's too much bad blood, too many agents see them as traitors, and Bobby says that Coulson is a good man, but Mac says he's a good man who has been compromised. So, Robert says, and I think it was a good line overall. I mean, he has been compromised. He is now out on his own. He's not with S.H.I.E.L.D. He's not with his team. He is out on his own with Lance, and that is true what Mac said there. So, Robert says that Daisy and Coulson should both be put on the index, and he reminds Melinda that sometimes people with powers lose control. I mean, Coulson is just as dangerous as Daisy. We know that Coulson is a creation of Nick Fury's, and basically, Nick Fury gave him that position to be the director, and, he has to do that. So, he has to be there for the most part. So he shows her the file on Bahrain and says she had to put someone with powers down, earning her the name the Cavalry. And next week, apparently, we're going to find out more about that, why she's called the Cavalry, and I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. I'm looking forward to that backstory, definitely. We're seeing a lot of that next week. So Robert says he wants to avoid having to put Coulson and Daisy down, and that he just wants her to help him find them to avoid a deadly showdown. He doesn't want it to end. He doesn't want any bad blood between them, and basically, Melinda says when he's ready, Coulson will find Robert. So, Coulson and Lance share during the cabin. Lance voices anger over Bobby and Mac's betrayal because he can't believe that they did this to him. He can't believe that all this time they've had a separate shield, but what Lance needs to understand is that it's not their fault. They were approached to do this by Robert, and that is why they're doing this. They feel it's the right thing to do because Robert told them it was. And I have to admit, Robert is good at what he does, definitely. He's a very good speaker, he's a good listener. He wants to make S.H.I.E.L.D. better, I understand that. But, I mean, he wants to kill the Inhumans, so that's not good. So, I like that Coulson says, though, that he's not mad at them. He thinks that they are good agents, and Lance says there are few people he'd fight for, but Coulson is one of those people that he would fight for. But he wouldn't fight for Robert if hell frees over. He doesn't trust Robert, and he's not going to fight for him. So, Coulson defends him, though, as a good guy and questions his own position as director. And Coulson says there are no good options, and Lance says it may be time for the bad ones. It may be time for some bad options. I'm just thinking, what bad options are we talking about here? So Bobby approaches Jemma, and she says Fitz is clear to go, and asks if Jemma's leaving as well. I was interested in seeing if she was actually going to leave, but Jemma says that she wants this to blow over and get back to normal. I mean, she just wants things to get back to normal and just wants things to be normal, but of course, we know with Fitz, nothing can be normal. After he saw those weird visions of Jemma, we know why he's leaving. He just can't be with Jemma anymore. So it's just that simple, and Bobby says that that'll happen when the toolbox is open, and Jemma says that they're looking at it wrong. It's not a tech solution, but a lab solution. They have to do whatever they can to open this toolbox. Now, I don't know what's inside that toolbox, but whatever's in there apparently is going to fix everything, but we'll see what happens. I feel like it's going to be a while before they actually open that toolbox. I'm calling it now. They're not going to open that toolbox till like close to the end of the season or the end of the season. I mean, it might just be in the finale where they're opening the toolbox whole episode. I could see that happening the whole, like, for the most of the season, that they're trying to open the toolbox. So Lincoln brings Skye to her room at Afterlife, and Lincoln says that basically Daisy's gloves compromised her transition process, and Lincoln tells her that she's not strictly human any longer, which she's not, and Daisy says that she wants to give her powers, but Lincoln says it's irreversible, and I can understand why Daisy wants to get rid of them, but she needs to embrace them. I mean, after all that advice last week, you'd think that she would have embraced them, but I can understand why she wants to get rid of her powers. I mean, she doesn't really fully understand what's going on. She's very worried about her powers. She's worried about hurting people. She's worried about her friends. She doesn't want to be seen as the enemy. I can totally understand. All of this is getting thrown at her, and she doesn't want to have these powers anymore. I can understand why. By the way, guys, you hear like that popping noise? That is my washing machine. It's really annoying, but if you hear a loud buzz go off, that's what it is as well. But basically, Lance is asleep on the couch and is awoken by the sound of an incoming aircraft, and Coulson says he invited the other S.H.I.E.L.D, and we find out what their plan is here. Coulson plans to steal the Quinjet they bought with them, and he says he has reinforcements on the way, and Coulson tells Lance to stick to non-lethal weapons, and they hole up in the cabin. So Robert fills Bobby in what's going on with Coulson, and I didn't really know what they were going to do about this, but at Afterlife, Lincoln shows Daisy around. They pass a transition room that Lincoln says they don't use anymore. They find an open area where Lincoln invites Daisy to show him her powers, and Lincoln takes Daisy's hand and shows her her gift to generate and manipulate electric charges, because, you know, that's what she can do. So he says it took a while to get control and that he almost burned Afterlife down. He used electricity to levitate her into the air. It was a really awesome scene, I have to say. I definitely enjoyed seeing that, and I think that the more Daisy used her powers, the more comfortable she's going to be with them, because this is a gift. I like that he's calling it your gift, because it is a gift. It's not something you should be ashamed of. It is a gift. It's something that was given to you for a reason. There's a reason why you have these powers, and I like seeing Daisy, you know, I understand Daisy's very self-conscious about it and really doesn't know how to react to it. I can totally understand that. But she needs to understand that this is a gift, and these are good powers. These powers are not a bad thing. This is just who she is now, and she needs to embrace it rather than say, I don't want them. So Fitz is packing up his stuff. Mac finds him and says he hates to see him leave, and Fitz doesn't warm up to him well, and Mac says he doesn't want Fitz to leave. He's still Fitz's friend, and he tells Fitz, and it's a really sweet scene overall, and basically he tells Fitz that Jemma found a way into the box, and Fitz doesn't understand why she'd do what she's doing, but then seems to have an idea of why she's doing what she's doing. I mean, I'm sure Fitz understands that Jemma doesn't want to leave the team, but Fitz needs to leave the team. It's inevitable that he leave the team. And we knew he was going to leave from the moment that he told Jemma that he couldn't really work with her anymore. He's always wanted to leave since then, and now that they've told him he can leave. So for this, it is a good thing because he's always wanted this. So the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent continues to try to break into the cabin. Coulson tells Lance that there's only one reinforcement on the way. He opens the suitcase, and it's a 21st century howling. There's the buzzer, as I said, that'd be going off. But it's a 21st century howling commando kit, and Coulson pulls out a deck of cards and uses it to set up a hologram image of the two of them, and the soldiers fall for it, and Coulson ICEs them. So Lincoln and Daisy run into Gordon. Gordon says he has pressing matters to look into, and Daisy asks to send a message to her friends, and Gordon says he needs to ask permission, but that they'll advise against it, and she asks about Raina and Cal, and because, they're also affected by this, and she wants to know what's going on with them, and she doesn't even know where they are, so Gordon says he can't give up their location, he can't tell her where they are, and I thought that was really, I'm like, Gordon, that is really sketchy, where are they? And Daisy asks who Gordon needs permission from, and Lincoln says the elders, who are afraid Daisy has given away their secret. And basically, I'm interested in meeting the elders. I want to see who they are overall, because clearly they think that Daisy has given away their secret, which she has. I mean, she didn't give away their secret. It's just that all of the all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents found out her secret because they're not idiots. They found out what was going on with her, and she had to tell somebody. I mean, it was understandable why. And of course, Daisy's so unaware of what's happening to her, you can understand why she told them. She had to tell somebody about it, and she had to. So basically, we then see that Gordon teleports to a place where he's keeping Cal, and Cal's angry, but Gordon says he's lucky that they kept him alive, and basically, Cal suspects that they found Daisy and that she's here, and Cal wants to see Daisy, but Gordon refuses it, and they fight, and Gordon uses power to get the better of Cal, and Gordon says Cal's lack of self-control has threatened their safety and sealed Cal's own fate as well as Daisy's, and I don't understand why Gordon doesn't want Cal to have a relationship with Daisy. I mean, you can recruit Daisy to your team. It'd be good for all of you. You'd have someone there to be in your team. Why don't you want Daisy on your team? I don't understand that. She'd be perfect for this. I mean, she's totally unaware of her powers. Just bring her to your team. It'd be better for all of you. So why not just bring Daisy to your team? I don't really understand why they don't want her there, but whatever. So Coulson and Lance dress up as the soldiers and head out of the cabin. They approach the Quinjet, but are immediately recognized. They find themselves surrounded by another cloaked Quinjet, and I thought this was an amazing scene. Jemma's working on the toolbox when Bobby comes in, and Fitz shows up and is upset. Fitz picks up the toolbox, and an agent pulls a gun on him, and Fitz says he thinks Jemma wants to leave because, he thinks that's what's going on. And Jemma says she thinks it's best if he does, and basically, I mean, we didn't really see Jemma's feelings on this, but I can understand why Jemma's saying this. I think Jemma just wants what's best for Fitz. I think if she wants him to leave, she's his best friend. They have that bonding. They've been best friends, and they've had this weird bonding ever since, Jemma, Jemma came back and everything, and ever since then, it's just been really weird between them. So I think Jemma just wants what's best for Fitz right now, and just wants him to do what he wants to do. If he wants to leave, then she's gonna be happy about it. If he doesn't want to leave, then fine, she's gonna be happy with it. I think she just wants what makes Fitz happy, because she just wants him to be happy. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense why she wants Fitz to be happy. So I think that's really what's going on there. So Coulson and Lance are being loaded up as prisoners on the Quinjet. The hangar door is closing when it's suddenly stopped and is pulled open by Deathlock, and Deathlock takes out several guards, grounds the other Quinjet. Coulson introduces Lance to Mike Peterson, who's gotten some nice upgrades, and Deathlock gets ready to get the Quinjet in the air, and basically Robert tells Bobby that Lance and Deathlock are working with Coulson. He tells Bobby to bring in the bus and Melinda. Now, when he said that, I'm like, they're going to recruit Melinda. That's what they're planning on doing here. So Lincoln and Daisy, they're enjoying some popcorn, and Lincoln again asks Daisy to show him her powers and says that he'll give her a guide to help her master them. He says that Daisy's powers are easily compared to the other ones, and Daisy realizes that he's talking about Raina and that she's here. And they argue, and Daisy wants nothing to do with her. She's saying, I want nothing to do with her. She's going to kill all of us. And, I mean, here's the thing, though. Daisy is just as dangerous as Raina. That's the thing. Raina, while she's dangerous, Daisy is just as dangerous. And I understand Daisy doesn't fully understand that, but she doesn't understand that she's just as dangerous. So Daisy storms out, opens the other transition room they walked by before. Raina's there. She's completely miserable. She's hiding from light of day, and it's understandable why she's so miserable. I mean, she also is very unaware of her powers, and Raina shows herself to Daisy, says she's on the outside, Daisy is on the in. She is on the outside, Daisy is on the inside, and Daisy used her powers on Raina until Daisy's mother shows up behind her. So yes, Daisy's mother is now back. They had a huge family reunion here. Jiaying is back, and when we saw her, I'm like, this is going to be awesome because I can't wait to see. I honestly really do want Cal, Jiaying, and Daisy to all reunite. I want a family reunion. I think that Daisy deserves it. I think Cal deserves it. And I think that honestly it'd be the best thing for all of them. So Jiaying reminds everyone that they're all guests in her house and that Raina deserves the same care as anyone else. She says, both Daisy and Raina are one of us. And Daisy says she can't stay if Raina's here. She doesn't want to be part of the team. But Jiaying says the choice is Raina's, that she has chosen to be Daisy's guide if she stays. And she says if after a few days they don't feel a connection, then they never have to see each other again. And I think that, I think that makes sense. I mean, you know, have them work together. They're both just as inexperienced, so having them work together is just going to be the best thing. And maybe they're going to grow closer. I could definitely see them forming a bond, but we'll see what happens. I mean, right now, she hates her, but Raina seems to really like Daisy and really wants to be friends with her, but Daisy just seems like she doesn't like Raina, probably because Raina was on Hydra's side, but now she's on her own side. And I've said it before, I think Daisy, Raina, Cal, all of them, they're going to be on their own side. They're not with S.H.I.E.L.D., they're not with Hydra, they are on their own side, and they're going to form their own team. I definitely feel like this is setting up Daisy joining Cal's team. This is definitely setting that up there. So, Gordon returns to Cal, this time with Jiaying, and Cal says he told Jiaying he would find Daisy. Jiaying thanks him, he asks to see Daisy, and Jiaying says no, probably just because she doesn't want to stress Daisy out more. I mean, Daisy's already so stressed out, she has no idea what to do. The best thing to do is to leave Daisy alone. But then, I mean, I'm pretty sure she'll eventually let Cal see Daisy, but right now she doesn't want him to see Daisy. So, Robert returns to the Lyad with Melinda. He brings a gun that his father used in World War II and gives it to Melinda, tells her to shoot him if she really thinks he's a traitor, and I legitimately thought she was going to do it. I thought that Robert was going to die. I'm pretty sure Robert is not going to make it out of the season, but I thought he was going to die right then and there. So Robert offers Melinda a seat on his board and saying that when they catch Coulson, he should have a strong advocate on the board. And Melinda picks up the gun, passes it back to Robert. Robert monologues over a scene of Fitz leaving. And I like what he says here. He says that they cannot be against each other. They need to work together. They can't have all these fights and everything. They need to work together in order to make S.H.I.E.L.D. stronger. And he asked Melinda to help defend S.H.I.E.L.D., and it seems like Melinda is actually interested in this. So, Coulson's Quinja is in the air. Deathlok has been tracking Dr. List. List has been looking for power people to experiment on, and Coulson says he doesn't think Gordon is involved with List, but that Gordon is connected to Daisy's father and the power people he knows about. So, maybe Coulson knows more than we think he knows. I mean, maybe, I mean, that's exactly what's going on. So, Coulson does know what's going on. I thought that was interesting. So, Coulson says there's only one man who is connected to both these power people and Hydra, and if they're going to find Daisy, they need to find Grant. So, Grant is now going to work with them, and that's going to be awesome to see. I've been wondering where Grant's loyalties lie, and just knowing that Grant is coming back in the next episode is going to be awesome. I'm very interested in seeing if this is actually going to work, but we'll see what happens there. And then we see Jemma is telling Mac and Bobby that she's done everything she can, but without Coulson, she simply can't open the toolbox. And I don't think she's going to be able to open the toolbox till Coulson returns, so we'll see what happens there. But then we realize that Fitz hauls a cab, and he pulls the actual toolbox out of his bag, and Fitz has the actual toolbox. Now, does Fitz know what this actual toolbox does? That's what I want to know. That's basically how the episode ends, and that was such an amazing cliffhanger there. But what an amazing episode this was. There's a lot to talk about. Does Fitz actually know what this toolbox does? Does he know why this toolbox is so important? Because I want to know. We know nothing about this toolbox. This toolbox has now just come into the story. Clearly, I'm pretty sure Fitz knows what he's doing. I don't think Fitz is inexperienced at all. I think that this toolbox, there's definitely something more about it. I don't know what is in the toolbox, but I definitely feel like Fitz knows more about the toolbox than we think he does. And where does Fitz's loyalties lie? Is he going to work with Daisy and all of them? Is he going to possibly work with Hydra? Is he going to work with Coulson and Lance? Or is he going to do his own thing? I mean, I really don't know. Obviously, Fitz is still going to be part of the story because now he has the toolbox. Is Jemma going to realize this? I mean, if she really cares about Fitz, she'll realize that he has that toolbox. But are they going to realize it? I don't really know. We'll see what happens there. Coulson and Lance, how are they going to get Grant? What is going to happen with Grant? How is it going to make them stronger overall? We'll see what happens there. Melinda joining S.H.I.E.L.D. Is going to be interesting to see. I can't wait to see how that works out overall. Obviously, they want to defend S.H.I.E.L.D., so I'm interested in seeing how that whole thing is going to work. And let's talk about Daisy and Raina. I really like seeing these. I really am looking forward to seeing these two team up. I think that they could form a really good bond. I understand right now Daisy doesn't trust her, but I think if they work together, she'll trust her more. Jiang and Cal, I do feel bad for Cal. I want him to reunite with Daisy, but I think eventually he will by the end of the season. By the end of the season, there definitely is going to be a family reunion between those three, but for right now, he needs to understand that Daisy is very unaware of her powers, and she can't have too much stress right now, and he's just causing more stress if he tries to visit her. He needs to understand that. So, what else is there to talk about? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really want to talk about. But no, really, guys. That's really all I have to say about this episode. Overall, guys, another amazing episode. I'm really loving this season. Every episode is just getting stronger and stronger as the season goes on. And I really am loving it. I love the whole thing with Robert and everything. I'm interested in seeing, I mean, as I said, next week we're going to find out more about Melinda. And her now being in S.H.I.E.L.D., I think is going to be really interesting. Do you think they're possibly going to get, I mean, what's going to happen with Jemma? I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen. Now that Gran has stolen this toolbox, like, what does the other toolbox hold? Is there something bad in the other toolbox? Is it a complete I mean, can you open the other toolbox? Because, I mean, there has to be a way to open that other toolbox, but is there something else in it? I really don't know. I'm interested in seeing what's in that because, I mean, we don't know what else Fitz did, but I definitely feel like Fitz is a lot more powerful than we, think he is, and I love that twist if that's true, but we'll see what happens there, and that's basically it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, the Elders. I want to talk about the Elders really quickly. Are we going to meet the Elders? I want to know who are part of the Elders, because obviously they think that Daisy told a bunch of people about who they are and everything, and they don't really trust Daisy, so are we going to find out more about them? Because I definitely want to find out more of who the Elders are, like what their mission is, and things like that. I think that's really interesting overall. We'll see what happens there. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Justified. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.